All. I'm a creative consultant here in Regina, and I also direct television. I direct commercials, and the recent one you might have seen is I did a series of commercials featuring first responders talking about responding to impaired driving scenes. So I directed those. So that's kind of my day job. Today I want to talk a little bit about my family's experience with solar. And also, I want to project a little bit into the future and make some sort of extrapolations based on my family's experience. The story begins about 4 years ago, summer of 2014. This is my backyard. My wife there and my two young kids. I'm an older dad. Amelia, my eldest, turned 8 in 2014. And 8 is kind of a significant year for me, because I was 8 when my father passed away. And so when my eldest daughter turned 8, it was kind of a significant year. I spent a lot of time thinking about what it was like to be a father. And I remember very clearly what it was like to be my daughter's age, because I had this traumatic event that sort of fixed that time in my life. I have a really clear picture of that time in my life, and I was thinking a lot about that in 2014. And then, as I sometimes do, I sort of flip things around, and I thought, okay, well, I remember what my life was like when I was Amelia's age, and I wonder what her life will be like when she's my age. I was 53 at the time, and so the question I was really asking myself is, what will life be like in 2059? Because in 2059, my eldest daughter is going to be 53, which is the age I was at that time. And I have to say that when I started running that image through my head, I wasn't really comfortable with what I was imagining. And I was actually feeling quite guilty that I wasn't doing nearly enough to protect her future and my other daughter's future. And then I noticed this. It was a sunny day. This is my studio behind my house, and it has this big roof that faces south-southwest. And I thought, wait a second, that's something. And so I started looking into solar PV. And I found this map. And this is a really important map for everyone to understand, and kids in particular, they need to understand, they need to see this map, because in Regina, we are literally at the epicenter of solar potential in Canada. We're right in the PV hot zone in Canada. So on the strength of this, and some other research, I talked to my wife, and we convinced ourselves that this is something we needed to do for our children. And so on December 12, 2014, Sound Solar, which is a local solar company, brought in some skilled workers, and they put up the solar panels. The racking had been put up ahead of time, but they started installing solar panels. Now you'll see a lot of people working here. And that's another thing that I learned about solar, is that actually in this particular installation, I worked it out, it's 3.25 person days for every installed kilowatt. Solar means jobs. And in fact, I did a little back of the envelope calculation for Regina, and for every 1% of penetration for solar in Regina, it translates to 65 person years of work. So there's jobs. It's an economic activity as well as an environmental one. So just to quickly give you an apples-to-apples comparison of what our situation was. Again, this is based on my own numbers. Our bills that we paid before we got solar, the bills that we paid for the solar, and now afterward. So an apples-to-apples comparison, we used to pay, all included, $186 a month. Now we pay, on average, $173 a month. And what I really want to point out there is that includes the capital cost repayment. So the capital cost repayment portion of that is about $125, $123 per month. The rest is a little bit of extra electricity you have to buy, taxes, and so on. So it really is an apples-to-apples monthly cost comparison. But here's the thing. This information is about a year old. I originally developed this presentation about a year old, and since then, the price of electricity has gone up. So in fact, if I kept my old style of getting electricity, I'd be paying $193 a month instead of $173 that I pay now. And that price, that differential, is going to keep going up over time. I do want to talk a little bit about intermittency, because it's something that is a reality with renewable energy production, whether it's solar or wind. Here's sort of an idealized graph here. This is a really sunny day. Sun coming up at 6 in the morning and peaking at noon and going and dark at 9-ish. The reality is that, yeah, it's intermittent. There's dark spots, okay? In the early morning, and we're still needing energy. In the evening, we're still using energy. That's a reality. And sometimes when I'm talking to people about solar, there's some really cynical people out there, and they'll say, yeah, you know, you can't create solar at night. Cool. That's deep. And then I might say to them, it's like, you know, that's true. You pointed out that it's intermittent, and I can't generate electricity at night. That's true. By the way, can I ask you a question? Do you have running water in your house? Who has running water? Okay. Even when it's not raining? That's amazing. We figured out how to store water so that it was there when we needed it. This is what's happening with electrons right now. So this is a big battery. It's the biggest battery in the world right now in New South Wales and Australia. And you see there's intermittent renewable energy that's feeding into the batteries, and so that it's evening out the flow of the electricity, just like water tanks do with water. What's really exciting is this picture was taken last Thursday, right here in Regina, just to the east, southeast of the city, at the Cowessess First Nation. This is Jessica Nixon here with the first Cowessess First Nation, and a bunch of kids that I went with Jared Clark's class to the Cowessess First Nation for a tour. And I don't know if you can see there, but that says LiON, the lithium ion. These are two lithium ion batteries. They work with the Cowessess First Nation wind turbine and their brand new solar panels that Will's company, Skyfire Energy, installed with the Cowessess First Nation. And they're showing us how this is going to work. They're really ahead of the game. It's incredibly exciting. They're leading the way. I do want to talk very briefly about the future. And again, this is a bit of an extrapolation based on my own experience and observations and so on. I'm going to start with a photograph of, this is Google Map. There's my house. There's my studio with the solar panels. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm going to put an S on it just to show that there's a solar panel there. I'm going to talk about within the next 2 years. So let's say within the next 2 years, I actually might get a battery for my house. The economics of batteries are starting to make a bit more sense. And who knows what SAS Power's policies are going to be, so that might make more sense. So I'm going to say there's a battery in my house. My next door neighbor is kind of a car guy. I think he might be buying an EV. Probably not a Tesla, but he might get a Leaf or a Chevy Bolt. Interestingly, I have 4 friends that in the last 2 years have purchased, this is just in Regina, just local, in my circle of friends, 4 friends who have purchased battery EVs. So I don't think a 2-year time frame for this to happen is a stretch. Let's say within 5 years now, a little further out in my neighborhood, so there's my house and my neighbor's house. Within 5 years, I think the density might increase a little bit. We'll add some more solar in various spots, maybe some batteries, maybe people will buy EVs. Another interesting fact is that 5 of my friends in the last 2 years have added solar to their homes. Yeah, I've nudged them a little bit, but 5 of my friends, I bought them. David Kyle I saw here is one of them. So within 5 years, I don't think this is unreasonable. Now what's interesting is, when I went to Cowessess First Nation last week for that tour, I came home, and guess what? This house here had solar panels. I left in the morning, no solar panels. I came back in the afternoon, no solar panels. I was like, this is excellent, because I can add another S to my I'll prove my point. So again, I don't think this kind of density is a stretch within 5 years. I actually think it'll probably be more than that. Let's pull out a bit further. So this is now the southern part of Regina. And let's imagine that density carries through. This is only within 10 years. And again, I think I've been conservative here in terms of what's probable. In terms of people having either solar panels or batteries in their homes or batteries in their cars. So here's the thing. I want to play a little mind game here and have you look at this. And now instead of thinking of solar panels and batteries, I want you to imagine that it's 1995. It's 1995, and let's say that all of these nodes are personal computers. Okay, so in the years, say from the mid to late 80s to 1995, we all got computers and we were playing around, we were doing our desktop publishing and so on. And then in around 1995, this happened. Okay, the internet happened. All those computers got networked. And the thing is that the internet has changed our lives. It's absolutely changed our lives. And the reason it's changed our lives is not because there's some great big node here that we're all connected to. There are some bigger nodes, absolutely. Amazon's a big node, Google's a big node, and so on. But the power of the internet is that it's an interconnected network of modestly powered nodes. That's the power of the internet. We all have those nodes, in our phones, in our computers, sending little packets of information up, drawing packets of information down. Okay, let's come back now to solar panels and batteries. And as they get networked, the same kind of opportunity is there, okay, to have like an internet of energy, for lack of a better way of putting it. And what this does is it allows all of us to participate in the creation of energy and the distribution of energy. This is called either a distributed grid or it's made up of microgrids. There's various ways of looking at it. There's one in Brooklyn, in New York, Brooklyn microgrid. It's kind of an experiment that's experimenting with trading electricity and sharing it and so on. It's really, I think this is the future. It's reimagining the traditional energy model with the concept of a communal energy network. This is what I find very exciting, and I see it happen. I see it's kind of an inevitability. So within 30 years, again very close to the 2050, I imagine that Regina might look something like that, where we've got this distributed network of modestly powered nodes. Sure, there'll be big nodes. Hopefully SaskPower will be participating, have some nice big nodes, just like Amazon and Google have big nodes in terms of information. But they're participating with a lot of other of us, generating electricity and sharing it and trading it and having it be clean. I want to end with a photograph that I took at the Cowessess First Nation that I just really love, because this solar panels kind of seem to go on forever. I love that. And these kids learning about solar from Anton Farber here, who's with the SRC. And just a little final statement. You might know that Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, passed away today, actually. And he just happened to have this quote that I thought was a really fitting quote to end on, which is, as long as we work together with both urgency and determination, there are no limits to what we can achieve. And I really draw inspiration from this quote. I think we can do it. We can work together. We can overcome this. And we can help out Andrew and the other city councilors make sure that Regina commits to being renewable by 2050. We can do it. You can help. Thank you.